Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce coming to you with the JP8 Report, episode 61. Thank y'all very much for tuning in. This is episode 61, Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. There's a few subjects I'm going to cover. Thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget, when you get a chance, if you're watching my podcast, and I know there's a few y'all, don't forget to subscribe to it on Rumble or YouTube or podcast, okay? And I ask that because I have, you can see under, I have 7 subscribers, but I get a whole lot more, almost triple the number of viewers so far. And it's like, come on, guys, subscribe. Come on, you can do it. You get a notification whenever it publishes, okay? So, liar, liar, pants on fire. So, first thing, came out a couple days ago. It was 363. This came from the State Department. So, I'm pretty sure the White House was really perturbed about what's going on. Because just a couple months ago, they said there was less than 100 Americans still left in Afghanistan, right? So we, on I believe August 30th, we lost these men right here and women. Okay. For less than 100 Americans left in the country. Think about that. In July, he said no Americans would be left behind. In the end of August, it was, we got almost all of them out. We have less than 100, and they decided they wanted to go take a jet and leave these guys behind. Then it came out 2 days ago. There was 363 Americans still left behind in Afghanistan, and that's after all these NGOs and volunteer groups smuggling Americans and SIVs out of Afghanistan. So where did we get from in July no Americans would be left behind, to less than 100 Americans left behind, to now there's 363 Americans left behind? And let's not talk about all the SIVs out there. People put their life on the line to help us guys out when I was downrange. Okay? Remember, even though this hat says Operation Iraqi Freedom, I got a combat tour in Afghanistan also. Okay? So that's issue number 1. Issue number 2, town hall meeting from the president the other day. He was asked, when is he going to go to the southern border? Or he says, well, I've been to the border. Maybe I should go again. Maybe it's a good thing. Well, last week or a week before last, a correspondent with Fox asked Peppermint Patty, a.k.a. Jen Psaki, the press secretary for the president, asked her the same thing about the president. And she said the president has been down there before or something like that. But then this correspondent said they had researched, and never ever in his entire life has Biden ever been to the U.S. southern border, ever. Not as a private citizen, not as a congressman, not as a U.S. senator, not as vice president, and not as president, ever. And he's going to state on that town hall he had on CNN that he's been down there before. That's lie number 2. And do we need to keep chalking them up? Lie number 3, the border is secure. How in the world is the border secure if people keep slipping past the Border Patrol willfully? I mean, we had 1.7 million people that were apprehended coming across the southern border, and there's had untold thousands more slipped by because the strategy of the coyotes and the cartels on the border is they created a version, surge the border with a bunch of people that need to be taken into custody, and they'll go 50 miles down the road and surge another group of people across, and they're not even apprehended. So they're like slipping in their fentanyl, their drugs, their sex trafficking, in the search of a better tomorrow. They promise these people as they're taking all their money from them. I mean, 1.7 million people came across the border in 8 months, or 9 months. 9 months, 1.7 million people were apprehended at the U.S. southern border. And then come to find out, if you're underage or your family unit, that'd be illegal mom, illegal dad, and illegal kid, they put them on secret plane flights in the middle of the night and fly them all around the country. And just by happenstance, there was either they heard through the grapevine or they were just happened to be there. I think they heard it through the grapevine. There was a plane landed outside New York City, and like 300 people got off, and another flight came in. And evidently, they were flying them from South Texas to Florida, changing planes, and then charter flight up to New York. But what's happening is they're doing this all over the country, and until they put those illegals in the communities where these affluent Democrats are, they're not going to care, because their intent is swamp the red states with as many illegal aliens as possible, and then naturalize them, and then make them citizens, and hopefully they vote Democrat, which I don't see happening. I think the tide's turning on people believing the liberal agenda that's going on out there. It needs to come to an end as it is. But, you know, the word is out about immigration. They got people making another run at the border. There's 5,000 people being apprehended a day in Arizona. And that's, you know, they talk about southern Texas being inhospitable for people hiking and walking in the open. Try out in the middle of the desert in Arizona. I bet people are dying left and right. And I wouldn't even want to see those police reports to see how many people are actually making it through. But they're arresting 5,000 people a day. They got there was a caravan that broke through Mexican security forces in southern Mexico, 20,000 people, and they surged through that line, and they're making their way toward the U.S. southern border because they know that they're going to be able to get in with no penalty. I'm at a loss of words this morning, guys. Sorry about that. So we got all these secret flights. You got crime. You got fentanyl, overdose deaths that aren't being reported too much, unless you're a high-profile person that OD'd. But they're normal, everyday people that are they're abusing drugs, and all of a sudden they buy some drugs that are laced with fentanyl, and then they're dead. But they're not getting the publication of what's going on. No one really cares because they're not hearing about it because the press doesn't want to report about it because it's going to hurt the president. Okay? Fake news, fake news, fake news. I don't care if YouTube hears that. It's fake news. Okay? Then you have the Build Back Better plan. It started at $3.5 trillion. It's down now to $1.9 trillion. Well, the lie in that one is it was a 10-year plan, and now they whittled it down to a 5-year plan, And now they're whittling it down to a 3-year plan, which reduces the overall expenditure. But as we all know, whenever you create a welfare entitlement, or dependency entitlement is what they're calling them now, your political future is at stake if you vote no on renewing that dependency entitlement. We just need to cut a whole bunch of them. I'm sorry, we don't have the money to spend. We got to pay for our national defense and the interest on our national debt. Okay. Let's see. And to go along with the Build Back Better plan, the plan was to have the IRS look at all incoming and outgoing transactions on your bank account at $600 or more. And that ran into a firestorm, thankfully, because you tell me the number one thing that's going to get people to get their bank account looked at by the IRS is, and I understand why they want to do it, because there's a lot of fly-by-nights out there that don't pay taxes. But the vast majority of us we do our tax preparation, we file it. But if they're going to look at outgoing and incoming transactions so they can look at the history of your bank account, it's $600. The number one thing that's going to get most people on that, mortgage or rent. The vast majority of us pay mortgage or rent, and it's going to be over $600 a month. So now they said, well, let's see. We'll do it at $10,000. Okay. Now you have a whole bunch of people that $10,000 may not seem a lot, but they're going to make it cumulative. Well, what happened to the 600 now? Well, they just accumulated all up. What if someone does remodeling around their house, and takes a loan out, and they get $30,000 deposited into the bank account? Oh, red star clusters go off at IRS. We need to audit these people now. Where does it start? $25,000. Really? I mean, if you want to make a dent in the whole thing, start at $1 billion. Okay? And make the job simpler at the IRS. You wouldn't need $70 billion to enforce it. Save some money here and collect a lot of money there. Just a thought. Okay? President Biden, what's he holding back? He hasn't had a formal news press conference in well over 100 days. He's only been in office 185 days, I think it is, maybe a little bit longer than that, 210 days, or, he needs to get out, or are they trying to hide him? Okay. They got this fake White House. I put that on my countdown post I put on one of my Facebook pages. I worked with the White House for 5 years. We never did anything like that. They took a piece of the Eisenhower Executive Office building called the EEOB and converted it into a movie studio to make it look like he's in the Oval Office or in the East Room of the White House. They can put any image behind them they want and put whatever furniture they want. And then instead of having a teleprompter on the left or the right, he has this huge screen in front of him where he doesn't have to squint or anything, and he can read line by line what Rob Klein, the real president of the United States, wants him to read to the American public. I can't believe they even got away with that. President Bush would have been roasted over the coals for doing something like that. Let's see. Fake stuff. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know if you know who Angelo Negri is. Okay. Angelo Negri is a guy, I believe from Delaware, that worked for Amtrak. And President Biden has told this story 4 times. Unbelievable story. It's like, and it's like, dude, come on. Well, the story came where, remember, liar, liar, pants on fire, okay? So he said he had a conversation with this one Amtrak guy that that they had totaled up all the miles for Air Force 2 trips, and it totaled over 1 million miles, which is easily to achieve, okay? And that was published. He said that was published all over the place. They ran across this guy that he knew, he's known for decades, and then he said, "Hey, Mr. President, I don't know what you're talking about with this Air Force stuff. We totaled up all your trips you took from D.C. to Delaware, and you got 2 million miles with us. So stop talking about all this Air Force stuff, because we've done most of the work for you." Pretty good story, right? It advertises Amtrak. It shows how important they are. And, well, it shows he does a lot of traveling. He tries to be a home person, right? Well, came to find out that, what's his name, Mr. Negri, retired from Amtrak in 1993. And that Mr. Negri passed away in 2014. And that Joe Biden has never talked to him. And he's been, the story's been debunked, but he keeps telling it to the American people, and people are believing the lies. When are we going to stop this nonsense? Now, in the next lie is that I'm going to use the National Guard to alleviate the barge backlog in Los Angeles and Los Angeles, Long Beach harbors. Okay, there's like over 125 ships at dock out there, just waiting to be able to be offloaded. Well, for one, Mr. President, it takes the state to to activate the National Guard to do work like that. Why would you do that when that's an entity? Okay, you know, those longshoremen in their union contract make about $250,000 a year to operate a crane and get everything off the docks. Okay. Right now with two shifts, they do like 3,500 containers a day. About. Okay, so they make $250,000. State law in California says no trucks over 3 years old are allowed to drive in the state of California. Also, no independent truckers are allowed onto the docks in Los Angeles or Long Beach. So, Joe Schmo, small businessman, can't even operate his own rig to get products off the port, which makes it harder to be able to get these boats unloaded. Okay, it's all union rules. Good union jobs. Screw them, man. Let's just do the work that we need to get done and get it over with. Why would you want to stymie competition unless the unions are in your back pocket and give you political donations so y'all can pass these stupid laws that constrict legitimate business owners from making a living? Okay. Over 120 vessels. I just heard on the news this morning, this one toy company, I believe is in Connecticut, just opened up in May, and they had to close permanently this weekend because the backlogs of toys from China, made in China, which, why are we making stuff in China still? It should be, if something happens, we go to war protecting Taiwan from China, you think they're going to ship stuff to us? I doubt it. I hope not. And we'd be a fool for buying it. But they can't put toys on their store shelves because they can't get them off the boats. So JoJo's toys had a short life, and they were showing them on the news this morning. There's nothing on those shelves. Another lie. Joe Biden is a very transparent person. He got caught plagiarizing 3 times. You know, he ran for president back in the 80s. And he got caught plagiarizing a prime minister's, I believe it was a prime minister's speech or a labor MP's speech in Great Britain, and caused him to drop out. That was my first election. I got the vote in, but I digress. But he got caught plagiarizing. And, you know, we can do better. We're believing this stuff. We believe, one of the last things I think I have time to talk about is in Virginia. They got a governor's election coming up in just about a week from now. Yeah, a week from tomorrow. And they're talking all about school boards and CRT. And a lot of these parents are fed up with what's going on over there in Virginia. And you got Terry McAuliffe saying, hey, you know, I believe that the parents have no right to dictate what their kids learn in public schools. And if you're a fool if you want to vote for that. It is the parents' responsibility to make that decision, what's going on in those schools, and not the state. In Texas, we elect state board of education people to take care of that stuff. Okay, they have to run on public platform. Okay, all this stems from Loudoun County in Virginia, where they've been having protests over protests, and then lo and behold, in June, this one guy went berserk at a school board meeting because the school board wouldn't listen to him. And it was because his daughter was assaulted by this guy that put a dress on and went into a bathroom in a high school in London County. Okay, she was assaulted twice by this one gentleman. Well, not even gentleman, this one man, and nothing was being done about it, and he just lost it. It turned out that the superintendent knew that the assault happened like less than 2 hours after it occurred, and there was no accountability. The superintendent's still there. The stupid unisex policy where boys can dress up like girls and go into a girl's bathroom, it's still there. It's still there. No accountability at all. And you have Terry McAuliffe saying, no, well, it's the state's right to tell exactly what your child is going to learn in school. And you want that man to be your governor and to promote the teaching of critical race theory or DEP or whatever else they want to call it. And that's just teaching people to be racist, to hate each other. You know, one of the Republican hallmarks is we're supposed to treat each other fairly. That's what we fought a civil war over, and we beat the Democrats on the field of battle over this. And it seems like every time this stuff comes up, it's the Democrats, it's the Democrats, it's the Democrats. You see something racist come up, it's the Democrats. Did you know a few days ago was the anniversary of 1979 that Democrat Jimmy Carter restored the citizenship of Democrat Jefferson Davis, which was the president of the Confederate States of America? Why would you bestow citizenship on him? I mean, I know Grant granted amnesty to all the Civil War veterans and offered it to as a measure of reconciliation. Offered it to General Lee, and he declined it, but it was bestowed upon him later on after he died. But, you know, you look at who was in charge when this stuff happened. Jim Crow stuff, Democrat. the race riots in the 60s, Democrats. What cities were there? They were in Democrat cities. And the living standard in the South, all Democrat. Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. And they have an audacity to try to blame Republicans on this stuff. And you know what we Republicans mostly do? We sit back, we don't say nothing, because we don't want to be shamed on someone else. Because the Democrats can hold a message the best way they can and try to embarrass and throw us back on our heels. When it's the Democrats are promoting the racist ideas, they promote the abortion ideas. They just want to keep the minorities in our country under subjection. But there is a better way. Low tax, less government, freedom. That's what Republicans stand for. We have the right to do what we want. We have the Constitution to abide by, which doesn't. We have the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment. I'm not a big fan of the 16th Amendment, which authorized the government to collect income tax. And while we're talking about 16th Amendment, the Democrats are trying another tax on people, a wealth tax. And not only do they want to tax your income coming in, they want to tax your assets that you have in your family, the money that you save in the bank, which, if you read the 16th Amendment, they have no authority whatsoever to do a wealth tax. So that would be unconstitutional. If they pass something like that, it would actually be ruled unconstitutional. But you never know these days, okay? So thank y'all, everyone. We're reaching almost a half-hour mark on the podcast. Well, leave y'all. It's remember, as soon as the podcast is over, go subscribe. Okay, guys? And thank y'all for watching. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. I'm out. I'll catch you on the flip side.